up, everybody? Maran here for another weekly update. So there's all kinds of news to go over here this week, all kinds of interesting stuff. But first, Tesla, they have come out with quite an impressive redo here for the Model S. And so this isn't an entirely new version, but it's the first heavy redo they've had ever since the car was originally revealed, honestly. They've had, the new headlights and stuff a few years back, but never had a completely new interior like this one has. So, yeah, it's very impressive. The only changes on the outside, though, are a new front bumper and new wheel choices, so nothing really notable there. But the inside, it's huge. So there's a new touchscreen now that's 2 inches bigger than the one in the Model 3 that's now 17 inches total. It can also be tilted left or right, which is a feature I'm sure passengers will enjoy, especially Beth. She likes having the screen at least straight, if not tilted. So I think that'll be great. You can tilt it towards the driver or towards the passenger. It's really cool. But there's a new gauge cluster, and then the biggest change is the new steering yoke that Tesla calls it. And so they say this setup allows the ultimate focus on driving. No stocks, no shifting. With a stockless steering yoke, you can enjoy both the best car to drive and the best car to be driven in. So not only is the shape radical, but it also ditches all those control stalks and replaces them with forced touch buttons on the steering wheel, similar to Ferrari and others, although even Ferrari has normal buttons for the turn signals. This is all forced touch stuff. So I would say it's safe to assume that Model S drivers for these new ones will probably not be great at using their turn signals. So just be prepared for that. But this also means the gear selector is also gone. There are forced touch buttons down in the center console now to change the gears if you want. But Electric got some extra details on the interior from an internal document, which says that they hope that drivers don't even need to select the right driving mode because the car will be able to figure it out in most cases. They say, for example, if the front of a Model S or X is facing a garage wall, it will detect this and automatically shift to reverse once the driver presses the brake pedal. This eliminates one more step for the drivers of the world's most intelligent production cars. So, yeah, I can see if you're, facing a wall, it's going to want to know to go into reverse. That doesn't seem like it's that hard to figure out, but, is it going to be accurate whenever you're trying to, pull out of a parallel park, situation or something else that's a little more complicated? I know the car can auto park and all that kind of stuff, but I still feel like there's going to be times where, you could go forward or you could go backward if the coast is clear both ways. So, I think that's why they still have the buttons, thankfully. You can't do everything automatic, but it's kind of an interesting idea there. Other stuff here. So they added a bunch of other things. There's a second touchscreen now for rear passengers. There's a new glass roof you can get on the Model S now. There's a new 22 speaker stereo. They upgraded the gaming computer, which Elon Musk tweeted later could actually run Cyberpunk, which if anyone's been following that, even the newest consoles and stuff, they seem to run it okay, but anything less than the best new stuff struggles with that. So we'll see how good the car's computing power is if it can run that. It also now has a heated steering wheel, ventilated front seats in addition to the heating for all the seats, tri-zone airwave climate control, ambient lighting, sliding front cup holders, door pockets now, finally. That is one thing I didn't like in my Model S review is no door pockets. Now you have that. There's a fold-down second row armrest there with cup holders and wireless chargers, actually, along with other minor changes there. I think that's a first to have a wireless charging pad in a fold-down center armrest in a car, so that's kind of cool. Performance-wise, it gets really big upgrades as well. So even the slowest long-range version now does a 3.1 seconds 0 to 60. So, even the slowest Tesla Model S now will keep up and probably surpass most supercars on the road. It's just wild. So 3.1 seconds 0 to 60, 412 miles of electric range for that long-range version. But strangely enough, that is not the longest range Tesla you can actually get. So the better range for all these versions comes thanks to Tesla's new battery chemistry and fully redesigned battery modules, they say. But anyway, that long-range version is going to be starting at $80,000. And then the biggest addition is this new tri-motor setup, which I'm guessing might be the same one you got in the Cybertruck. And so that gives you Plaid and Plaid Plus trims. There is no performance version of the Model S anymore. It's just Plaid and Plaid Plus. So Plaid gives you be 1,020 horsepower, carbon sleeved rotors, and torque vectoring. And they claim a 1.99 second 0 to 60, 200 mile per hour top speed. And that one also does 390 miles of range. And that's going to be starting at 120 grand. But lastly, there's the Plaid Plus, which claims some of the best ever numbers in various respects. So first, it gets over 80 extra horsepower for a total of 1,100 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in less than 1.99 seconds. At that point, oh man, I just would even be terrified to honestly do an acceleration in this thing from a stop, because I would be worried I would be like blacking out or getting sick. It's just like wild. Anyway, that one also has a 200 mile per hour top speed and a quarter mile time of under 9 seconds. So truly remarkable stuff, which they claim is actually the fastest quarter mile time of any production car ever. So crazy, crazy stuff. It also will do over 520 miles of electric range, which is far and away the most offered in any kind of electric car currently. That will be wild. So, I mean, that is a lot of range. And so it's also a lot of money. It's going to be starting at $140,000 for that Plaid Plus version of the Model S. Then don't forget the full self-driving. I put that in heavy air quotes. Not full self-driving autopilot. That is 10 grand extra on top of everything else. So 150 if you wanted to, do the partially self-driving thing. So that's, going to be expensive, but it is a very impressive car. I mean, I can critique the autopilot and stuff all I want, but I mean, as far as the actual car goes, it's mind-blowing with their efficiency, with their performance, and they made some really common sense, smart improvements to the interior, and then some not so common sense stuff like the steering wheel that doesn't actually work as a steering wheel anymore, and stuff like that. So we'll see how all that plays out. But, Tesla has their moments of brilliance, and I think there's many components here in this that are pretty brilliant. So interesting to see all that. Elon Musk says that deliveries will be starting in February as well. So unlike, GMC with the Hummer EV, like, oh, it'll be here in a year, or Cadillac with the Lyriq, oh, it'll be here in 2 years, and everyone else is 5, 7, 10. This is going to be here in like a week. So that's pretty awesome that they kind of just are very casual with this stuff, and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, you can order this now if you want. And it's just super relaxed. It's pretty awesome. Also, not getting the same amount of attention, but the Model X is also getting the same great improvements as the S, including its own restyled front bumper, its own unique wheels, and that very nice new interior. Although it doesn't get the glass roof, obviously, because you have to have the gull-wing doors still, or Falcon doors, I guess they call them. And they also don't get the Plaid Plus version in the X, only regular Plaid. What that means, the fastest Model X will now do a 2.5 seconds 0 to 60, along with 340 miles of range, and then the long-range version of that will do 360 miles and a 3.8 seconds 0 to 60. So still all very impressive numbers, and so awesome to see that. BMW this week has also revealed their own very impressive sedan here. It's the 2022 M5 CS. So it only adds 10 horsepower onto the 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 from the competition model for a total of 627 horsepower. But the bigger improvement here is that the CS is 230 pounds lighter than the competition version, now weighing in at 4,140 pounds. And so this helps it to hit a 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds, a full second slower than that Model S I just talked about. But it still will top out at 190 miles per hour. Suspension is the same as the competition model, just with retuned adaptive dampers to account for the weight loss. It also lost weight by swapping many of the parts for carbon fiber, and then also they removed a bunch of sound insulation, and they swapped the regular bench seat in the back for 2 bucket seats, and so that's kind of how they get a lot of that weight savings as well. There was leaks about this a few weeks ago, and this stuff was right on the money because that's basically what they were predicting. It's only going to be built for this model year though, so going to be very rare. It's going to be going on sale in the second half of 2021. It's going to be starting at $142,995, including destination, and there's no mention of a production limit for this, but it should be pretty hard to come by. But it's kind of hilarious. This came out the same exact week as that Tesla, and the BMW's $3,000 more, and it's a lot slower. So obviously totally different beasts, but it just goes to show you just how crazy that Tesla is. And Mini this week has revealed a refresh for the 2022 Coopers, Cooper S, all that kind of stuff. And so you see we have a new front bumper. And all I can say is it is new, yes, but it is not improved. It's, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the way that looks. I think most people seem to not love it. It gets rid of the fog lights as well in the front there, so to me it looks a little less sporty, honestly. The John Cooper Works version, thankfully, though, does not get that body colored piece in the middle there. Honestly, this refresh reminds me of the refresh they did for the Camaro and how everyone hated that and then they hurry up and go back to the drawing board. I hope that Mini refreshes this as well, or at least just puts the John Cooper Works grill on everything, because yeah, not a fan of that body colored piece in the middle there. So anyway, there's that. They also removed the fog light from the back end as well and kind of tweaked that rear bumper and stuff. The roof also has an interesting multi-tone gradient look to it now, where it looks like the paint is like faded out towards the back. It's kind of interesting. Inside it gets the same digital cluster now you get in all the other electric Cooper SEs, and I believe also was in the GP version. So that's a nice little improvement, along with some new center air vents that look completely out of place with that design, because you see the nice round cool vents in the corners of the vehicle, and then you have these just like bland vents right by the screen. I don't know, I'm just not a fan of those new vents either. There's also a new steering wheel, different ambient lighting now. The bigger infotainment screen is now standard, which is nice. You also now get standard Apple CarPlay, but strangely, Android Auto is still not available. So I think it's a weird BMW thing. I'm not sure why there's no Android Auto, but that's really bizarre and kind of a dumb thing to leave out, honestly. Anyway, mechanically it's the same as before, but the adaptive cruise system now does stop and go driving, so that's nice. Prices for all models except for the electric SE go up by $500, and production is going to be starting in March. So March is your deadline to put in an order for a 2021 Mini that doesn't have the crazy front bumper, or hurry up and run out to your dealer before everyone else buys them, because I'm sure the 2021s will be in short supply after everyone sees this front bumpers. So get your 2021s while you can. Other news here, Hyundai has revealed the Tucson N-Line for Europe, and so just for Europe for now. I'm sure we actually know we will be getting an N-Line version here in the States, and most likely will be the same kind of deal. But strangely, this N-Line doesn't add any more power like it usually does in other N-Lines. Instead, it gets styling changes, a sportier suspension tune if you get the optional adjustable electronic suspension, along with heavier steering, and that's it as far as performance stuff goes. Styling wise though, the changes look nice. You get a sportier front bumper, darker lights, unique wheels. They painted the trim around the wheel arches to ditch the rugged look, and they added sportier side skirts. In the back, you also see there's a spoiler, diffuser, dual polished exhaust tips, and darker trim around the taillights. Also, this gray color you're seeing here is exclusive to the N-Line as well, but there are going to be 5 other colors available, as is a black roof option, which is cool. Inside, it gets the N-Line exclusive steering wheel that appears to be from the Sonata N-Line, so that is one nice touch you get with the N-Line version of the Tucson. There's also sportier seats, metal pedals, and red stitching throughout. And there's actually an early US configurator that doesn't show us what ours is going to look like, because the model picture there, they say it's just a normal limited model, but does show we will be getting an N-Line version. And according to the engine selections there on the configurator, it's only going to be available with the same 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine with like 187 horsepower. So sounds like this thing will, transfer over. So I guess they're just saving the actual performance version for the full-blown Tucson N, which I'm hoping is coming at some point. But it's just strange because you have Sonata N-Line and it's faster. So I think everyone's going to be like, oh, so does this one have more power? And they'll be like, nope. So not sure why there's some inconsistencies there. But it is what it is, and yeah, so interesting. And I think it's nice styling changes, though, at least for the N-Line nonetheless. Mitsubishi this week has teased the 2022 Outlander in camouflage here, and will reveal it fully on February 16th. And so it was leaked back in December, so we basically already know what it looks like. And this appears to line up with that pretty clearly. But with all the stuff you're seeing there in the teaser shots, it seems like they're really going to be playing up the all-wheel drive system, which should be very good if it's taken out of the Evo. It should have very advanced yaw sensing and all that kind of stuff. So could be pretty good for that. We'll have to see how the rest of it is, though. And so, yeah, we'll only have a couple more weeks to wait for that info. Italo Design and DMC this week have teased a new DeLorean in a recent tweet. And this is something that's been in the works for years. I guess this is now finally getting closer to coming to fruition, because they say in the tweet that it's coming in the near future. And So we'll have to wait and see. I hope that they actually do come out with something that you can actually buy and that's not super hard to get and stuff. There's rumors that maybe they were going to be upfitting old DeLoreans with this like new styling and modernizing them and still kind of consider it a kit car or like a restoration as a way to work around actually developing and crash testing and certifying an engine for an all new, brand new actual vehicle. So we'll have to see on all that, what they end up actually doing, if they do anything at all. But if nonetheless, it sounds like we'll at least see some kind of cool modern take on what a DeLorean could be like, which should be pretty cool. Vietnamese company Vinfast this week released a few pictures of their VF32 and VF33 electric crossovers that they claim meet U.S. safety standards and will start arriving here in the States in the summer of 2022. I'll get back to that in a second. But anyway, as far as the vehicles go, the VF33 will run 2 electric motors, one on each axle for all-wheel drive, and 402 horsepower combined. And it has a 106 kilowatt-hour battery, and they claim 342 miles of range, although they don't say if that's EPA testing or WLTP or some other internal metric as far as how they're rating that range, so we'll have to see on the actual range. And they also revealed this smaller VF32, which will either be available with a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, depending on whether you get 1 or 2 motors, and that presumably will be doing the same 201 horsepower for each of those, so it's just a matter of how much power you want and whether you want all-wheel drive or not. It does have a smaller 90 kilowatt-hour battery pack, though, but no range was given for that one, so obviously something beneath the 342. Inside, though, they both get a 15.4-inch infotainment screen and lots of other tech, including LiDAR sensors, which they claim will make it level 4 autonomous capable. We'll see. I don't think they'll actually be able to legalize it as level 4, but it has the capability down the road to be upgraded, I guess. And like any new brand that's talking about coming to the States, there's lots of Chinese electric startups and stuff like that are also talking about coming to the States. It's the same issues. You have to find a dealer network, you have to set up servicing, and that's the stuff that's the hardest. If you actually want to have widespread acceptance, getting that is really going to be tough. So we'll see, if they can hurry up and buy a bunch of vacant buildings to have dealerships in and service centers and stuff. We'll have to see. It just depends on how much money they have, I guess, to play with. But interesting to see that, and we'll wait and see if they start actually showing up next year. SCC this week, they actually did another top speed run in their Tuatara hypercar. That there's all the controversy about the last ones that hit like 330 some miles an hour and was really crazy. But then there was some controversy as far as whether it was verified correctly and stuff. I personally think the car can easily do that still, but this is about records and stuff, so you have to be exact and precise. So they did do another run here. They weren't able to get over 300 like they did last time, but on this shorter 2.3 mile run, they still managed to break the top speed record officially this time with an average of 282.9 miles per hour, which is exactly 5 miles per hour faster than Koenigsegg's record that they did in Nevada. But this record was actually set at, I think, the Kennedy Space Center on their like 2.3 mile runway there. And so it's a lot shorter than like the 6 miles they had to work with in Nevada. So it was still, the whole thing was verified by Race Logic, Garmin, and others that set up the equipment, made sure everything was legit. And but it was like, they said it was really hard because they had to get up to speed really fast. So it was like they set up like a drag launch instead of, in Nevada, they were able to start at 120 and then roll into it and have 6 miles to get up to speed. And so I think this was a lot harder, so it's a lot more respectable. They're actually able to get that fast in that short of a time and then have enough of a braking zone to come to a stop. And the most impressive part, I think, to me, is that instead of having a pro race driver do the run like they did last time, this run was actually done by the owner of this Tuatara, Dr. Larry Kaplan, who just put the pedal to the metal. Obviously, I'm sure he, is a really good driver and stuff and knows cars, obviously. But still, the fact that, you could actually take your own car to its top speed and say you have the one that actually set the record is really awesome and very brave of him as well to go for that. So, but they say they actually want to try again to go even faster in the future because they know this thing can get over 300. It's just a matter of giving it enough space. So, Yeah, but congrats to them on setting the new record for now. We also know Bugatti, briefly eclipsed 300, but that was not technically a production car, even though it's based on a production car that will do that same thing most likely. But anyway, there's lots of people vying for that 300 mile per hour record, and so great to see SCC as the king for now. And Lotus this week had some very big news and some very sad news as well, honestly. So they announced that they're ending production of the Elise, the Exige, and the Evora permanently. This isn't just like until a new version comes, they're done. And they say they'll be replaced by new models that are currently hidden in these shadowy images here behind the Avaya hypercar. And so the first one that's going to be coming is internally called Type 131, and according to Auto Express, their recent report said it would be a mid-engine sports car without electrification at all. We'll see about the other two cars and future stuff, but for now, this is actually going to be a normal gas-powered thing, which is refreshing. Lotus only says it's a series production sports car built in the UK that they hope to start building prototypes of this year. So that sounds like there won't actually be any production of normal, models this year. I would say sometime mid next year at the earliest. Usually it takes even more than a year to kind of iron out all the kinks, but we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully whatever they're doing here doesn't take too long because they're saying that 2021 is the final year of production for the Elise, the Exige, and the Evora. And they say they're going to have a bunch of celebrations and probably some special editions and stuff like that to celebrate it. But that really shows like it is done, which is sad because the Elise has been legendary for the past couple of decades, and the Exige is amazing. The Evora was a very good car as well that was very underrated, I think. I never got to drive one, but I got to ride in one. I had a friend that had one a long time ago, and it was a very impressive vehicle. And but yeah, it sounds like at least all these new Lotuses will be coming to the States because Lotus confirmed to Autoblog that all the future cars are being engineered for global sales. So we should be seeing them all in the States here at some point. But keep my fingers crossed for Lotus. They're also working on an SUV that's going to have some Volvo underpinnings. So we're waiting to see that come. That wasn't even teased here. So I don't know what's coming first, that or the sports cars. But very, very interesting. Just kind of sad. It's the end of an era with the Elise. It was such a fantastic little car. For some more discontinuations, something a lot of people will probably be not as sad about, Kia has announced that they are discontinuing both the K900 and the Cadenza. They're not even going to get a 2021 model year, so they are done with the current 2020s that are out there, and that's it. So you can't really blame them. The K900 I reviewed last year, I believe. It was really a nice vehicle. Actually, I think it's 2019 I reviewed that. But I really liked it. It was really a solid car for the money. If you can just buy a vehicle that's in the $50,000 range that has a Kia badge on it. If you can get past that, I think it was a really nice little car. But it's only, they said they only sold 305 of them last year. So, the only reason why they ever came to the States in the first place is because they build these models for Korea anyway. They don't really care about selling them here in the States because they just sell enough of them in Korea to justify it. But it was nice they brought them over here. But, I think at this point they're like, all right, guys, 305 sales, let's just pull the plug. And so that's what they're doing. The Cadenza only sold 1,265 units as well. So, that even makes the Stinger look like a star because that's sold over 12,000 units last year. And that's even not amazing, but, it certainly is way better than those models. So, kind of a bummer there, but it does make the Stinger the top sedan in the range now at Kia. It's just the Stinger, the K5, and then the Forte and the Rio and stuff. So a little bit slimmed down, but again, I don't think anyone's going to miss those two. So interesting to hear that. And another big industry thing this week is Moray Callum announced that he's retiring from Ford and Lincoln this week. So anyone who's unfamiliar, he was the global vice president of Ford and Lincoln design and stuff. And so he is the man responsible for the designs of many iconic cars. He designed the 2015 Mustang. He designed the Ford GT, the 2015 F-150, and then more recently he even did the Bronco, the Mach-E. Clearly they have design teams, so he wasn't the only person, but he was the lead on those. And then he also, when Mazda was under Ford's umbrella, he did the NC generation Miata. He did that styling. He did the CX-7. He also worked for Ghia, Aston Martin, and others in the past. So a very influential designer, and I personally want to thank him for the gorgeous looks of the 2015 Mustang, and I think he probably did something with the refresh as well. It was I'm very grateful. He's made beautiful cars over the years here, so I appreciate his service to the car world. And his brother, the other legendary car designer, Ian Callum, also just retired recently. He did Jaguars and Aston Martins and stuff, and so. Yeah, they have beautiful designs. And so anyway, as far as Moray here, he's going to be succeeded at Ford and Lincoln by Anthony Lowe. So we'll see if that changes design direction or, how things are influenced in the future. But yeah, interesting to hear that. And the last news story this week is that Dodge has officially sold out of Durango Hellcats. So they said last summer when they announced that they can only build them for the 2021 model year and only for about 6 months because of how late the 2021 Durangos were launching. And so that was because they can't do the Hellcat motor in the Durango because there's emissions regulations for that platform and that segment of vehicle where the Hellcat motor doesn't pass anymore. I'm not sure why. It doesn't pass with that, but the Grand Cherokee still can have that, I think. I don't know. But anyway, it is what it is. But for whatever reason, it can't be here anymore. So Dodge limited production to 2,000 units. They're going to be starting to arrive this summer, and then they'll be gone. That's it. And so it was awesome to drive. I loved reviewing it. I'm very fortunate to say I was able to drive the Durango Hellcat. It was awesome. And yeah, anyone who gets their hands on one of those 2,000 vehicles will not be let down. They are fantastic. And so thankfully, though, the Hellcats will be continuing in the Charger, the Challenger, and the T-Rex well off into the future. So the Hellcat motor is safe, just not in the Durango. And so yeah, interesting to hear that as well. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.